You are 24 years old. You meet someone at a party on a Friday night in October. The apartment is loud. There are maybe 30 people there, you know 8 of them. They walk in and somehow the room reorganizes itself around them. You notice this before you notice their face. By the end of the night, they know your name, your job, the name of your first dog, and the one thing you said you were most afraid of, which you only mentioned once, quietly, to them. You think, this person actually listens. You are Evan, and this is where the 5 years begin. Month 1. They text you good morning before you're even awake. Every single day. No exceptions. They remember things nobody remembers. The coffee order you mentioned once. The band you said you grew up listening to. The fact that you hate when restaurants play music too loud. Small details. The kind that make you feel like you are the only person in the room, even when you're not in the same room. They tell you in week 3 that they haven't connected with someone like this in years. You believe them, because it feels true on your end too. Therapists have a name for this phase. Love bombing. Evan doesn't have that word yet. Month 2. They introduce you to their friends. The friends are charming, funny, well-dressed. The dinners are good. The conversations are interesting. But you notice something quietly, almost unconsciously. All of them orbit around this one person. Nobody challenges them. When someone starts to disagree, the conversation smooths itself over fast, like water closing over a stone. You think they're just the natural leader of the group. Some people are like that. Month 3. Late night. You're both lying down, the kind of quiet that feels comfortable. They start talking about their past. Every ex was manipulative. Every old best friend betrayed them for no reason. Every boss they've ever had was threatened by them. There is a pattern here. Every story ends with them as the one who was wronged, the one who was misunderstood, the one who deserved better. Evan listens. Evan feels something specific. Relief. Because they're not describing him that way. He is the exception. He is the one who finally gets it. This is exactly what they need him to feel. Month 4. You cancel plans with your friend Marcus to spend the weekend with them. Marcus sends a message saying he feels like he hasn't seen you in months. You tell him you've just been busy. It's not a lie, but it's not the full truth either. You don't think too much about it. Month 5. They plan a trip. A full weekend, hotel, restaurants, an activity you mentioned once that you'd never actually done. They handled everything without asking. It is somehow exactly what you would have chosen. You feel taken care of in a way you haven't felt before. Later, much later, you'll understand what was actually happening. They were paying extremely close attention to you. Not out of love, out of strategy. They were building a complete map of who you are, your needs, your soft spots, your deepest desire to feel chosen. So they could use it. But that's later. By the end of year 1, Evan has never felt more understood by another person. The relationship is consuming, all in, all the time, but you read that as intensity, as proof that this is the real thing. Your world has gotten quietly smaller. 2 or 3 friendships have faded without a single dramatic moment. Your schedule now runs through them. You haven't noticed any of this yet. You are happy. Month 14. The first time they get angry, it's over a dinner reservation you forgot to make. They don't yell. There's no scene. It's worse than that. They go completely silent. A cold, deliberate quiet that fills the room like pressure. They answer in single words for the rest of the night. They sleep facing the wall. 2 days pass. When they come back, there is no apology. Instead, they sit down and explain, calmly, with the tone of someone being very patient, that you made them feel like you don't care. that small things matter, that they need to feel like a priority. Evan apologizes. He genuinely believes it was his fault. Month 16. A comment about how you dress, said lightly, almost affectionately. You used to put more effort in. You laugh it off in the moment, but the next morning you stand in front of the mirror longer than usual. You change your shirt twice. You don't connect these two things consciously, but they are connected. Month 18. Evan tries to bring up something that hurt him. A dinner with friends where his partner interrupted him mid-sentence, laughed over what he was saying, and moved the conversation somewhere else. It seemed small, but it didn't feel small. He brings it up carefully, choosing the right moment, the right tone. They listen. Then they explain, logically calmly, why Evan misread the situation, that he's too sensitive, that what he's describing isn't dismissal, it's just the way they communicate, that the real issue here is Evan's insecurity, something he's carried long before this relationship started, and that maybe he should look at that. By the end of the conversation, Evan is the one apologizing. And then Evan is the one asking if they're okay. Psychologists call this DAVO, deny, attack, reverse victim and offender. The accused becomes the victim. The one who was hurt ends up doing the comforting. Evan doesn't have that word yet. Month 20. Evan starts editing himself before he speaks. Not consciously. It just becomes automatic. A half-second check before any sentence. Is this a safe topic right now? What mood are they in? Is this worth it today? He becomes very good at reading a room that contains only one other person. He learns the difference between a silence that is fine and a silence that means something is coming. He learns which version of them walked through the door before they even sit down. This is not a skill Evan wanted. He developed it the way you develop any survival skill, because the environment required it. Month 23. A good week. Genuinely good. The warmth of early in the relationship back again. Evan thinks, maybe we turned a corner. Maybe the rough patch is behind us. He relaxes. He stops editing as much. He makes a joke that lands wrong. The silence comes back. He understands now that the good weeks are not the baseline. They are part of the cycle. He doesn't quite admit this to himself yet. By the end of year 2, Evan has had 5 major conflicts. He apologized in all 5. His friendship with Marcus has gone from weekly to a message here and there. He stopped mentioning certain things he's interested in because the responses were always slightly deflating. Not cruel, just indifferent in a way that made him feel smaller. He still loves this person. He also doesn't fully recognize himself anymore. He thinks that's probably normal. Month 25. Your partner starts spending time with someone new from work. A colleague. They mention this person often, always casually, always in passing, always just enough. Evan brings it up one evening, carefully. Not accusatory, just honest. I've been feeling a little insecure about it. Can we talk? They sigh. They tell him that his jealousy is exhausting, that they can't have friendships because of his insecurity, that this is exactly the pattern that destroyed their past relationships. And they thought Evan was different. Evan apologizes for asking. Month 27. Evan gets a promotion at work. 2 years of effort, a new title, a raise that actually matters. Recognition from people whose opinion he respects. He tells his partner that night at dinner. He's been waiting all day to say it. They look up from their phone. That's great, babe. And then, a pivot. Something that happened to them at work that day. A frustration, a person who annoyed them, a situation that needs to be discussed in detail. The conversation stays there for the next hour. Evan does not bring up the promotion again that night. He does not bring it up again at all. Month 29. They forget his birthday. Not until the day after, when Evan says nothing and they don't say anything either, and by the following morning it's clear they genuinely forgot. When Evan brings it up quietly, they tell him he's being materialistic, that love shouldn't be measured by dates on a calendar, that needing acknowledgement is a form of ego. Evan spends the next 30 minutes explaining why birthdays matter to him. They listen with the expression of someone hearing a foreign language, patient, distant, slightly bored. He ends the conversation feeling embarrassed for having brought it up. Month 31. A co-worker named Diana asks Evan if he's okay. Not, "How are you?" Specifically, "Are you okay?" The way someone asks when they already suspect the answer. Evan says yes, fast, automatic. He drives home and the question stays with him. He sits with it that evening. He tries to answer it honestly, alone. And he can't. He doesn't know if he's okay. He doesn't know what okay would feel like anymore. Month 33. They accuse Evan of something he didn't do. The argument is specific. There are screenshots. There are timestamps. His own words pulled from context and reframed, just slightly, just enough. The logic is airtight. The delivery is calm. For the first time, Evan thinks, "Am I losing my mind?" He goes back through his memories of the event. He second-guesses himself. He wonders if he's remembering it wrong, if his perception is distorted, if there's something broken in the way he sees things. This is gaslighting. It doesn't arrive as cruelty. It arrives as confusion, as self-doubt, as the slow erosion of your own ability to trust what you experienced. Evan doesn't have that word yet, but he is living inside it. By the end of year 3, Evan's social circle has contracted to almost nothing. 2 people, Marcus, who he sees once a month at best, and a co-worker he occasionally has lunch with. Every other relationship faded quietly, through 100 small redirections, none of which felt like a choice in the moment. He has stopped sharing good news, because the response always somehow returns to them. He has stopped sharing bad news, because it always becomes a conversation about their feelings. He exists inside this relationship in a kind of silence, and he has begun to believe, deeply, genuinely, that there is something fundamentally wrong with him. Not with what's happening. With him. Month 37. Evan doesn't decide to organize his life around their moods. It just becomes true, one small adjustment at a time. When they're warm, there's a physical relief in his chest, like a breath he didn't know he was holding. When they go cold, the anxiety arrives before he can even identify what triggered it. His nervous system no longer belongs fully to him. Month 39. They say it on a Sunday evening, quiet, almost gentle. Maybe we just want different things. Evan panics. The panic is disproportionate, and he knows it. This relationship has cost him more than it has given him for at least a year. He knows this. He has known it for a while, but the idea of them leaving feels like the floor disappearing. Trauma bonding works like this. Cycles of tension, rupture, and reconnection rewire the brain's reward system over time. The relief of reconciliation becomes chemically indistinguishable from love. Evan is not weak. His brain was conditioned, slowly, through repetition, the way any system gets conditioned. Month 41. Evan starts therapy. He doesn't tell his partner. The therapist, her name is Claire, asks him to describe himself in 3 words in their first session. He pauses for a long time. He realizes he's been describing himself through someone else's eyes for so long that he doesn't know which words are actually his anymore. Month 43. Claire uses the term narcissistic abuse. Evan goes quiet. He drives home and sits in the parking lot for 20 minutes. part of him resists it. It sounds dramatic, borrowed, bigger than his situation. Part of him feels, for the first time, that someone has named the exact shape of what's been happening to him. Both things are true at the same time. Month 44. His partner finds out about therapy. They say Claire is projecting, that therapy is for people who can't manage their own emotional lives. They suggest couples counselling with a different therapist. One they will choose. Evan says he'll think about it. He goes back to Claire. By the end of year 4, the architecture of leaving looks impossible. Shared apartment, shared routines, a life structurally built around another person. But Evan has started, for the first time, to imagine a door. Month 49. Evan begins preparing, quietly, without announcing it. He opens a separate bank account on a Tuesday afternoon. He saves his documents, ID, passport, important files, to a drive they don't have access to. He reads things he never thought he'd be reading. He starts to understand, practically, what leaving actually requires. And then he calls Marcus. It's the first real phone call they've had in almost 2 years. Evan tells him everything, not a summary, not the edited version, the actual version. The fights, the apologies, the promotion dinner, the birthday, the parking lot after therapy. Marcus doesn't say, "I told you so." He just stays on the line. Saying it out loud to another person is the moment it becomes fully real. Not the therapy sessions, not the term Claire used, not the quiet hours of self-honesty at night. This moment. Someone else hearing it and not flinching. Month 51. His partner senses the shift. They always sense the shift. This is one of the things Evan will think about later. How precise the radar was, how quickly the response came. The love bombing returns. Sudden, total warmth. The exact version of them that Evan met at that party in October 4 years ago. Long conversations, genuine seeming vulnerability. "I know I've hurt you. I've been thinking about it. I want to be better. I think I can be better. Don't give up on us." Gifts, planned evenings, the right words at the right moment. This is the most dangerous point in the entire 5 years. More people return during this phase than leave. The brain recognizes the pattern it was conditioned to reward, the relief of reconciliation, the warmth after the cold, and it responds. Powerfully, almost automatically. Evan feels it. He would be lying if he said he didn't feel it. But he has sat in Claire's office enough times now to understand what this phase is. It is not change. It is the cycle completing itself, right on schedule, the same way it always has. He holds the line. Month 53. He tells them he's leaving. There is no dramatic confrontation, no table flipped, no door slammed, no cinematic moment of release. He sits down, he says what he needs to say, and they respond the way they always respond. The conversation becomes about them, their pain, their abandonment, what Evan is doing to them by leaving. He does not get an apology. He does not get acknowledgement. He does not get the ending he spent years imagining. The one where they finally see it, finally say it, finally sit with the weight of what they did. Narcissists don't give closure. Closure would require them to accept your reality as real. They don't do that. Evan leaves without the ending he wanted. He accepts this, not easily, but practically. He packs his things over 2 afternoons. His partner is not home on either day. On the second afternoon, he closes the door of that apartment for the last time. It is an ordinary Wednesday, overcast, slightly cold. He sits in his car for a few minutes. He doesn't feel free. He doesn't feel devastated either. He feels something in between that doesn't have a clean name. He drives. Month 56. They reach out. The message is long and carefully constructed. Part apology, part accusation, part flattery. It mentions how much Evan meant to them. It says he gave up on something real. It mentions almost in passing that they've been spending time with someone new, placed exactly where it will land hardest. It is the last move of a pattern Evan now knows completely. Every beat of it, every function it's designed to serve. He reads it once. He puts his phone face down on the table. He does not respond. Month 60. 1 year after leaving. Evan is 29 years old. He still goes to therapy every other week now. The sessions are shorter. There is less to excavate, more to consolidate. He has noticed that certain things still trigger a response in his body before his brain catches up. A shift in someone's tone. A moment of being dismissed in conversation. A silence that lasts a beat too long. His nervous system reads the signal first, tightens, braces, and then his brain arrives and says, "You're safe. This is different. This is not that." Psychologists call this hypervigilance. It's common after prolonged emotional abuse. It fades. Not all at once, not on a schedule, but it fades. He called Marcus on a Thursday with no specific reason. They talked for almost 2 hours, about nothing important, about everything that used to feel normal before the 5 years. It was the first phone call Evan made in a long time that was just a phone call. No anxiety in it. No performance, no monitoring of how he was coming across. He went back to something he used to do before the relationship. Something he had stopped doing so gradually that he never registered the moment he stopped. He did it on a Saturday morning, alone, with no one watching. And there was a moment, brief, quiet, where he felt like himself. Not the self that existed inside that relationship. The one from before. The one he thought he'd lost. He is not fully recovered. That's the honest answer. Recovery from 5 years of this does not arrive in a single moment of clarity. It comes in pieces, unevenly, on a schedule no one can map out for you in advance. But Evan trusts his own perception again. He knows what he felt. He knows what happened. He knows the difference between what was real and what was constructed. That knowledge, simple, solid, unglamorous, is the foundation everything else gets built on. And that is where it starts. Not with freedom, not with relief, not with some perfect moment of healing, with a person sitting alone on a Saturday morning, doing something they used to love, remembering who they were before someone spent 5 years convincing them they were less than that. That's where it starts. If this video describes something you're living right now, you're not crazy. You're not too sensitive. You're not the problem. Evan Psych. Subscribe. A new video every week.